Hello everyone, welcome to another employment video. Today we have Rebecca Holmes, who is a photographer and runs her own photography business. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to first maybe just tell us a little bit about your business and what it is that you kind of do, general overview?
Yeah, sure. So I am a people photographer. I photograph kind of all life events, any photographs that have got people in it, that's what I photograph. I'm not a massive fan of landscapes. I do a little bit of products, but essentially I look after photographs of people through their family life, through their business life, that kind of thing.
Nice.
I also teach people to do photography too, don't I? Yeah, I do that as well.
You definitely do.
I teach that too. I teach other so kids and adults how to take photographs, and I also have started mentoring a few professionals as well. So, yeah.
So first question is, how did you start your own business and how did you know you would get customers and that you were good enough to run a business?
Okay. The first part of that question, I was kind of lucky because I started because people asked me to. So they knew that I could take great photographs and they wanted to capture photographs of their family. And so they asked me to come and do it for them. That was when I was about 19. Just
wow.
Decades ago. And so that was kind of handy, and that I didn't kind of have to make the step up to it myself. Other people kind of let me know that there was a demand for it, and then just built it up from there. So I got myself a website, started promoting it, got some social media, got some help with all the aspects of running a business, and then hired a business mentor as well, which I think is really important, so that I wasn't on my own. Running a business can be quite lonely, because you've got a lot of weight on your shoulders. So it's good to link up with other people. And now, yeah, so that's pretty much how I started. How did I know that I was good enough? Well, I didn't. I absolutely didn't. And I probably have, in fact, I definitely have times now where I still don't think I'm good enough. I think, especially as artists, it's so easy for us to criticize our own work and to look at what we're doing and only see the flaws. So people will see a fantastic image that I've taken and they'll see a fantastic image, but I'll be like going, oh, I didn't do that and I didn't do that and I should have done this and what about that? And it's rare for me to find an image that I go, that was perfect. Like, that doesn't happen very often. So I think the starting with friends and family definitely helped. The word of mouth definitely helped. So I tested out on as many people as I could test it out on to see whether they liked what I was doing. And then when I started to receive money from it, that helps as well, because it's validation that you're doing the right thing and that you're providing a service people want. Feedback from customers really helped to make me feel like I knew what I was doing, and still does. I love getting feedback from customers that they're happy with what I've done for them. And most recently, I've won a few awards and done a few things like that. So that's kind of helped. So more often than not, I'm comfortable. I should be running a photography business, but I would be lying if I said that there weren't times that I still go, do I really know what I'm doing? Especially for business owners, you kind of have to fake it till you make it a bit. You kind of have to, pretend you've got the confidence and you know what you're doing until that confidence finally arrives with you. We call it, in the photography community, we call it comparisonitis. We're also subjected to each other's imagery now. I'm friends with like hundreds of photographers on social media, so I'm constantly seeing other people's work. So it's very easy to look at somebody else and go, oh, I'm not doing that, and so my work's rubbish, and yeah. I think the long and the short of it is, if people are paying you for your work and they're happy with what you've done for them, then you should be running a business.
I liked what you said about when you were starting the business, you got business mentors and you had people around you, because I think a lot of the time, if you hear that someone runs their own business, you get this impression that they've done it all by themselves and had to work it all out by themselves. But actually, you've made it quite clear that it's not.
It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't. So as a business owner, I'm not just a photographer. I am a business manager. So I'm looking like strategically, where is my business going and who are my customers and all of that. I'm a marketing manager. I'm a social media manager. I'm a PR manager. What else do I do? I'm a web designer. Honestly, a bookkeeper, not an accountant, a bookkeeper. Like, the list of stuff that I have to do to maintain my business is huge. And so I think, and it was probably a mistake I made fairly early on, is thinking that I could do it all myself. Because, you know, given enough time, I could learn all of these things for sure, but that doesn't mean I should. It is, I think, impossible to do it all by yourself. I'm actually kind of silly, because you just, lessons are going to take longer to learn and all that kind of stuff, where we can kind of jump you forward a bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess that kind of leads on to like, why then did you decide to start your own business rather than like work for someone else?
That decision was predominantly about flexibility, actually. So if I want to take 6 weeks off to visit my family in Australia, then I can. If I want to only work 3 days a week, then I can. If I only want to just earn enough money to get by, then I can. If I want to earn enough money that I can, I don't know, buy a boat, then in theory, you know, with all being well, I could work really hard and I could do that. So it's the ability to flex my work to suit my life rather than the other way around. I think for me, the idea of going and working for someone was just a little bit too bound. I quite liked being able to make my own decisions. Having said that, I mean, my ability to take 6 weeks off a year is totally dependent on how much money I've brought in and, you know, how much effort I've put into keeping the business going. So there's a kind of return, but at least I'm making the decisions about how I want my business to go forward. Nobody else is doing that.
Yeah. So I guess the very thing that makes it like appealing is also the thing that makes it scary.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've worked for places before and been an employee, and I am a team player and I can get on with everyone and all of that. But I quite like being in charge of my own destiny, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So whatever I put into my business, so long as I'm doing it right, then I should get that back in terms of either cash or reward, in terms of praise or whatever.
What is the best thing about owning your own business?
Is a bit that is being my own boss, for sure.
What is something you wish you had known before choosing to start your own business?
100% to ask other people, 100%. And also the bit about not being certain about something. I mean, for years I was a part-time photographer for years and years, as I went off and pursued lots of other different little bits of career, because in my head I was like, well, that can't be a proper job. But I think what I was doing was just second guessing that, am I good enough thing? Am I ready? So there's that, but then the asking for help bit is the other part of that. You need to have a certain level of self-awareness in your business. So if there were areas that I wasn't very strong at, I don't know, like one of them for me was using flashes and stuff. It wasn't something that I'd learned as a kid. So rather than going, oh, well, that means I can't do this, I went, well, let's go and find someone who can teach me. So definitely, I think in any business, finding the experts that can help you, the accountants, the social media managers, the web developers, the marketing managers, just even business mentors. In most businesses, there are people who have been doing it for 20, 30 years and will offer some sort of mentoring. So I found that invaluable once I finally figured it out. If I had 1 million hours in a day, I could totally do it all myself. Like I'm clever enough to do it all myself. I'm not, it's not like I'm incapable of doing these things. But just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And there are only a certain number of hours in a day, and there's so much that goes into running a successful business, be it photography or anything else. And actually, I mean, turn it on its head, I'm starting to get to the point now where I'm actually outsourcing some stuff. So I'm actually totally handing over whole things to other people, because I just don't want to do them anymore. Like I don't want to have to deal with my numbers and my money and my accounting and any of that, because it's not my favorite thing. So I would rather have my camera. So I will pay somebody else to do that job for me so that I can get on with the business of being a photographer. And when you start, obviously you can't do that because you've not kind of got the cash flow to do that. And it's also wouldn't be beneficial to you to do that, even if you did have someone gave you £50,000 to start your business, because you need to have an understanding how each of these things work. Because at the end of the day, you are the boss of the whole business, and you're responsible for how it goes, even if you're employing someone else.
That leads quite nicely to the last question, which is, do you get bored of photography, and is your job all about photography and editing?
Okay, so the first part, do I get bored? Sometimes, yes. It feels like boredom, but but when I dig into it, I usually find that it's because there's something I need to adjust about what I'm doing. So either I've been working too hard and I'm too tired, too overwhelmed and doing too much, or I'm a bit too isolated. As a photographer, I spend a vast proportion of my time on my own, and that's not healthy either. So I, maybe need to connect with others, or I'm maybe not doing something that aligns with where I want to head, or indeed if I'm not switched off effectively. So when you run your own business, I think more so than I have in any other job I've ever done before, it's very difficult to switch off. It's hard for me not to be sitting there thinking, what could I be doing next? What could I have done better? What do I need to work on tomorrow? It doesn't help that I also work at home, so I can't actually leave the office. Usually, if I'm feeling bored, it's because one of those areas needs to be looked at and addressed. And then, generally, what I find is if I pick up my camera and I head outside. And the last time I remember this happening to me, it was because I was exceptionally busy, and I was busy photographing families and other people, which is not. It's quite full on in terms of my energy levels, and I'm one of these extroverted introvert type people. I can be really extroverted 20% of the time, but the other 80 I quite like being on my own and being quite quiet. And I totally tipped that balance. I'd had a week where it was just mental, and I ended up just taking my camera down to the loch and just taking some pictures for myself, just totally, they were for nobody. I had to do nothing with them. I didn't have to post them on social media. I could make as many mistakes as I liked. And that was the thing that turned it around. I was like, oh, I really do love doing this. I just got a bit too caught up in the business of it, which kind of brings me to your second question about, is it all about photography and editing? No. Someone did a survey of photographers and found out that only 12% of their time was taken up with a camera in their hand on average. 12%. Wow. Now, I suspect that changes as your business grows enough that you can hire more people. I suspect that your actual photographing, because at that point the asset you are to your business is actually being with your camera. You don't need to be doing all the other stuff, but you've got to it needs to grow enough for it to get to that point. But I mean, when I'm not doing that, I'm either spending the second one was 28% editing and other computer stuff. I'm doing bookkeeping, insurances, stuff like that. I'm meeting and communicating with clients. So setting up their shoots and talking about what they're going to do and how we're going to do it. I'm designing albums or wall art or things like that. I'm doing marketing or advertising, social media. I'm networking with other, both potential clients and photographers. I'm learning and improving my skills. So photography is, when I learned, I was on film. That'll tell you how old I am. But, so things are progressing so fast. There's always something new to learn to build up your skills. I'm looking after my kit. Most of the time when I'm out and about photographing, I'm carrying around about £8,000 worth of kit. So that needs a lot of maintenance. I need to make sure that I look after it and, or I'm doing print orders or packaging or posting or strategizing. Where am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? What am I going to do this year? What sessions am I going to run? Who needs what with my time? That kind of thing. So yeah, only 12% of time actually taking photographs.
Wow, I would have never guessed that it would have been that low. But I suppose it makes sense when you after answering your other questions, I would have probably been closer to giving a lower number, but.
Yeah, photography is one of those ones that's really low. From an hour's photography session, people more often than not receive about 40 images. And I would generally shoot at least double to sort of quadruple that probably in an hour. And then I need to cull all of that down. I then need to edit it. I then need to put it onto a gallery, communicate with them to let them know it's there, order their prints, order their products. So yeah, when you break it down like that, so it's been quite nice actually the last little while to be able to shift some of that and not have to do it all myself.
Always seeing things on social media of like you said, you do the workshops with other people and do the training and do so much within.
I teach as well, which is the teaching bit has been mostly just to get help when it's quieter. So I'm mostly an outdoor photographer, and obviously we're in Scotland, so it's winter. So it's quite nice, but in doing that I found that I actually really enjoyed teaching. I really like it, and I've gotten so much joy out of watching what others create and seeing them improve. That it's been a real buzz doing that. So And I think it's one of those businesses that will continue to evolve like that. You know, I will continue to add new things. And at the minute, I'm exploring a little bit of filmmaking, so learning how to use the kit I've already got to make little mini films and doing some stuff like that. So
Exciting.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's another reason why running your own business is quite good, because the opportunities to expand and shift and are probably greater than they would be in a job where you're working for a certain company.
Yeah.
I can pretty much, aside the need to make money aside, I can pretty much flex where I want to head and what I want to do, depending on what I want to do, rather than what the head of some company wants to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions and giving us like such a really good insight into both photography and running your own business. Really appreciate that.
Oh, you're most welcome.
And thank you to everyone who's watched this video. See you later. Bye.